Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here on the Casa D18 Studios YouTube channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, thanking you for coming back and joining me here in the theater. Now, for today's feature, we're going to take a look at a film that turns 85 years old today and features some fantastic names from the golden age of Hollywood. Let's take a trip to The Shop Around the Corner. Now, The Shop Around the Corner is a 1940 romantic comedy drama film produced and directed by Ernst Lubitsch. I hope I pronounced that right. from a screenplay that was written by Samson Raphaelson and based on the 1937 Hungarian play Parfumere by Miklos Laszlo. And again, I hope I pronounced that right. Film stars James Stewart, Margaret Sullavan, Frank Morgan, and others. And as our movie opens, Alfred Kralik, played by James Stewart, is the top salesman at a leather goods shop in Budapest, owned by the high-strung Mr. Hugo Matashek, played by Frank Morgan. Now, Kralik's co-workers at Matashek and Company include his friend Pyrovich, a kindly family man, played by Felix Bressart, Prince Vadas, a two-faced womanizer, played by Joseph Lidkraut, saleswoman Iona Novotny, played by Inez Courtney, clerk Flora Kazek, played by Sarah Hayden, and Pepe Catona, an ambitious, precocious delivery boy, played by William Tracy. And again, hope I pronounced all those names right. One morning, Kralik reveals to Pyrovich that he's been corresponding anonymously with an intelligent and cultured woman whose ad he came across in the newspaper. Now, Kralik is Mr. Matashek's oldest and most trusted employee, but lately there's been some tension between the two. They get into an argument over Mr. Matashek's idea to sell a cigarette box that plays Ochi Shirene when opened. After their exchange, Clara Novak, played by Margaret Sullavan, enters the gift shop looking for a job. Kralik tells her that there are no openings, but when she is able to sell one of the cigarette boxes as a candy box, Mr. Matashek hires her on the spot. However, she and Kralik don't get along. Meanwhile, Mr. Matashek begins to suspect that his wife is having an affair as she begins staying out late and requesting money from him more regularly than normal. As Christmas approaches, Kralik is preparing to meet his mystery correspondent for a dinner date. The meeting, though, is stalled when Mr. Matashek demands that everyone stay after work in order to decorate the shop for the holidays. Later that night, Kralik is called into Mr. Matashek's office and fired. No one in the shop understands that Mr. Matashek's actions are related to his suspicions that Kralik is the one having an affair with his wife. Later, Mr. Matashek meets with a private investigator who informs him that his wife is in fact having an affair with one of his employees, but it's Vadas. And Pepe returns to the shop just in time to prevent Mr. Matashek from committing suicide. Meanwhile, Kralik arrives at the Cafe Niza, where he discovers that his mystery woman is Novak. Despite his disappointment, Kralik goes in and he proceeds to talk to her, pretending that he is there to meet Pyrovich. In his mind, Kralik tries to reconcile the cultured woman of his letters with his annoying coworker, secretly hoping that things might work out with her. Concerned that Kralik's presence will spoil her first meeting with her far superior mystery correspondent, she calls Kralik a little insignificant clerk and asks him to leave. Later that night, Kralik goes to the hospital in order to visit Mr. Matashek, who offers him a job as the manager of Matashek and Company. Grateful to Pepe for saving his life, Mr. Matashek promotes him to clerk. The next day, Novak calls in sick after her mystery man failed to show up. That night, Kralik visits her at her apartment, and during his visit, she receives a letter from her correspondent and reads it in front of Kralik, who of course wrote the letter. 2 weeks later, on Christmas Eve, Matashek and Company achieves record sales. Kralik and Miss Novak, alone in the shop, talk about their planned dates for the evening, and Novak reveals that she had a crush on Kralik when they first met. However, after pretending to have met Novak's mystery man, Kralik puts a red carnation in his lapel and reveals to her that he is, in fact, her mystery correspondent. They kiss, and our movie comes to its close. Now, the shop around the corner is ranked number 28 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions list, and it's listed in Time Magazine's all-time 100 movies list. In 1999, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Its legacy doesn't stop there, though. The shop around the corner was dramatized in 2 half-hour broadcasts of the Screen Guild Theater. The first one airing on September 29, 1940, with Margaret Sullavan and James Stewart reprising their roles from the film, and the second one being broadcast on February 26, 1945, with Van Johnson and Phyllis Thaxter in the lead roles. It was also dramatized as a 1-hour program on Lux Radio Theater's June 23, 1941 broadcast with Claudette Colbert and Don Amici. The film also spawned a musical remake entitled In the Good Old Summertime in 1949, which stars Judy Garland and Van Johnson. Charles Smith, who played Rudy, the young man who took the job of the errand boy when Pepe was promoted, is one of the quartet singing with Judy Garland at the engagement party in an uncredited role. However, the most widely known example of its legacy is the film You've Got Mail from 1998, starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan in the James Stewart and Margaret Sullavan roles, respectively. This adaptation uses plot elements and dialogue lines very similar to this film, especially during the first date. Screen credit of You Got Mail is even given to Miklos Laszlo for Parfumere, the play in which this 1940 film was based. And in a nod to this film, one of the protagonists of You've Got Mail owns a bookstore named The Shop Around the Corner. I've reviewed You Got Mail previously here on Renegades Reviews, and I'll link it up here for those of you that haven't seen it. I'll put it like this. If you've ever seen You've Got Mail, then you really don't have to watch this. However, if you're a fan of classic Hollywood cinema like I am, then I highly recommend that you give it a watch. James Stewart entertains as he always does. I can't think of a film of his that I've seen where he didn't deliver the goods. Frank Morgan, probably best known for portraying Professor Marvel, aka the Wonderful Wizard of Oz in the 1939 film adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, is an absolute treasure. And seeing Charles Smith, who I know best as one of the hip teenagers that gets under George M. Cohan's skin in Yankee Doodle Dandy, with Cohan, of course, being portrayed by the legendary James Cagney, was an absolute shock and surprise for me. When it comes to my rating of this film, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. What do you guys think of The Shop Around the Corner? Have you seen it before? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that discourse that I'm always trying to engage you, my loyal viewers, in. Until next time, when we return to the theater for another brand new episode of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here on the Casa D18 Studios YouTube channel. I have been your host, the Renegade J.J. Williams, thanking you all for tuning in. I will catch you all next time.